Wittgenstein had said that these philosophical questions are nothing but linguistic confusion, misunderstandings of language. And to an extent, if I have to support Wittgenstein, I see a point in it, because depending on which language I use, some of these questions that we raised about experience can be resolved. The closest word in Hindi for experience is anubhav. And with the word anubhav, there's already a connotation or a notion of self, right? So when I say my anubhav, I'm typically talking about my personal experience. And similarly in German, the closest words for experience are Erlebnis, Erfahrung, and they both have a concept of the lived experience in the semantic space, right? So which doesn't exist in the English word for experience. I can use the word experience and not necessarily mean either personal experience, have a notion of self, or have the notion of a lived experience. So is Wittgenstein right? Are these just problems of language and not really philosophical questions?
On the one hand, one could say that everything is a question of language. Because everything, not just about knowledge, any expression. Because if we are human, if we as animals engage with the world like other animals do, and don't talk about it, and don't have language to represent it, then none of these questions arise. There's nothing called knowledge. There's nothing to share with you. There's nothing that we can join together and build a rocket, right? We don't construct discourses, narratives, nothing. So, language is the source of this great mystery about human beings. The fact that we produce language, animals also do, etc., that is a entire different debate. The kind of language we do and the kind of uses we put language to are really the foundation of human societies today.
It's the foundation.
Foundation of human society.
This is similar to what Heidegger believed, right? Like being manifests itself through language.
Yes, language speaks being and so on. So the language is primordial to us in the sense that any notion, the very idea of meaning itself is related only to language. It's a quality which language has. So when you listen to some sound, you are asking, what does he mean? You're already doing that, searching for meaning thing. That's the fundamental quality of language. So it is not special to philosophy itself. In fact, when scientists begin to write about nature, their first target is language. They have to refine language before they refine their experimental methods. Because you need to first produce a language which can capture the truth. And that's why Galileo's famous statement that nature is an open book written in the language of mathematics. And that's why mathematics becomes so important for the sciences. Because the same confusion with which Wittgenstein is talking about philosophical questions is present in using English to describe scientific problems. That's all. So, language is all that we have. And language is all that is given to us to escape from. So that's why, not just with Wittgenstein, from the very early traditions, particularly with the Buddhists and various other traditions in India and China, the attempt to reach silence was very important. And the attempt to reach a state where you say, I have reached the limit of language. Language cannot do this job. So the whole debate on affability and ineffability is an expression of this. That is, there are some experiences which cannot be rendered linguistically. And once that happens, so either language fails, and something which is similar to what Wittgenstein says, the limits of my language. He enters into silence when he comes in.
Your protagonist of following a prayer as well, Kalpana, also goes through the same journey.
Kalpana goes through, and she does something very different from, of course, Wittgenstein, etc. In that, she calls all language a lie. She says all language is a fake, it's a lie. It's produced by humans to deceive each other. Whereas what Wittgenstein and others and scientists would also accept that language is needed to represent truth. Because otherwise, how do you talk about truth?
It's indispensable.
It's indispensable. Otherwise, we'll have to sit in silence with each other, staring at each other. Okay, get it. I don't know how, but okay, 2 + 2 is 4. Okay, I get it. Without communicating, without talking.
Or like in music or numbers, that's the only,
but music also
purer
has
forms.
without any language transaction. I don't know if that's possible, but that's a different domain of speculation. But the point is, language is all that is we have in order to represent the world, in order to represent truth. So in fact, that's why the question of truth is in most of our common ways of using truth. Truth is always about reference to language, not to the world. You won't ask, is this true? Suppose, you'll only ask me, is that a coffee cup or is that a mug? You won't ask me, is this true or not? You're seeing a cup. It's not about true or not. It's your statement about the cup. Oh, that's green in color. I'd say, no, that's not true. And what is not true is that your statement that this cup is green in color is not true. Not that the cup is not true. Right? So, language, it's all, questions of truth are also very closely related to questions of language. So, so the question is, to attain the truth, you have to first ask the question is, do you have the language for it? And Galileo's point is, English, Latin, any other language, human languages don't have the capacity to capture the truth of nature. You need mathematics. But then he doesn't want to acknowledge mathematics is produced by humans. That's a problem because mathematics is another language produced by humans. So he says, nature's language itself is mathematics.
It exists beyond our conception.
Yeah, and we as humans are only discovering.
It's like Plato's having
Exactly.
Plato's idea. Yeah.
Except here it's embodied in nature, and nature expresses itself through mathematics.
Mathematics is more fundamental. It's not a conception of the mind.
It is not.
It's not invented.
Yeah, it is there, and we can all work towards producing something in the aim of discovering the great structures of the world. So that's one way to escape out of the problem of language, human languages. But it is language which is the central question, and it is only philosophy for whom language itself is a subject of inquiry. Physics does not ask the question about mathematics. It's just, however much Weinberg and Hawking and Feynman may say all this about philosophy of science, they don't know how to answer the question why mathematics is so important for science. Feynman calls it spooky. Okay? So why don't you answer it? It's like me saying, the moon phases are spooky. And then say that. I've not done science by saying that. I have to do something else to give some explanation, description. And although they scoff at philosophy of science and the huge amount of work on philosophy of mathematics, the point is that's the question they try to answer. What is mathematics? Why should it matter to the world? Does it capture truth? Why does science think it's indispensable to mathematics? And so on. So, yeah, in the case of Kalpana, as you said, for her, it is not about the limits of language. That language is trying to capture truth, it is incapable. And that you have to keep refining it and doing all that. That's part of the analytical philosophy point, right? Keep controlling and clarifying, specifying the meanings and so on. For Kalpana, it is that all language is produced to produce a false world. It is an agency, it's an agent of lies. And therefore, she will not speak. Because for her, of course, the trigger comes because she calls out to the gods and no gods come to her. And she says, what are these names for? Who do they refer to? And through that, she's saying something larger about the nature of language. Do languages really refer to the world? Is it just a make-believe thing?